Okay, so this is the test review. It's a linear 4 test review, and it is for our test that we are taking on 10/18. And remember, if you have your sheet of paper, your own sheet of paper, you're going to take your own notes on this for now, so you can get some extra credit. So, and I'll tell you some things to write down that would be good to have on your notes sheet of paper. So it says write the slope for each line given below. This is not a multiple choice question, but it says you need to write the slope for each of the lines given below. So remember, we talked about there are some equations that look a little bit weird. This one right here, it's missing an x. This is a y equals 10 equation, which means it is a horizontal line. This is something you could probably write on your notes. Horizontal lines have, and fill in the blank. On your notes, you should write horizontal lines have blank. What type of slopes? The slope should be 0 slopes. This one right here says y equals x plus 0. Be careful, they're trying to trick you right here. This is a y equals mx plus b, and that slope is, what is the number in front of x? That is the number 1. For this one, this is y equals mx plus b, even though the b is 0. The slope for this one is 10, because that's the number that's with the x. Remember, the slope is just a number, not 10x. The slope is just 10. This one right here is another one of those weird ones. It's talking about vertical lines. Please write this down for your notes too. Vertical lines have blank. What type of slopes do vertical lines have? They have undefined slopes. So please write these two things down for your note taking for your extra credit. And make sure you fill in the blank. What is the slope of any line that is parallel to this line right here? This is an equation. It's not slope-intercept form, but it is point-slope form. And if you remember, the slope is going to be right here next to the parentheses. This is the slope that we need, and we need something that's parallel to it. So for your notes, this is the third thing I want you to write for the slope. I'm sorry, the third thing I want you to write on your notes. This is the first thing to write for your notes. This is the second thing to write for your notes. This is the third thing. Parallel lines must have, you should already know that, the same slope. So the same slope as a 5 is the same exact, so the answer for this one would be B. So for your notes, you have written down those 3 things. For the notes, I definitely want you to copy down these 2 problems, 4 and 5. It says solve for h. Be careful, it's just like solving for x. This is just like 2h plus 12 equals 59. Remember, the first rule is if that's the only thing that has a variable, don't touch it. If that's the only thing on the right side of the equation, don't touch it. You need to be doing the opposite of the 12, which is minus 12 from both sides. This makes a 0 pair. We're left with 2h equals, this is 59 take away 12, or you could look at it as 59 plus a negative 12. And if you combine that together, that would be 47, I think, hopefully. And then how do you get rid of the 2 and 1? We divide both sides by 2. So h equals 47 divided by 2. 47 divided by 2, and that equals 23.5. So your answer is going to be h equals 23.5. You write that in. Over here, notice this has an inequality symbol. This one didn't. This one, same steps. Don't touch this one because it's all alone. Don't touch this one because that's the only thing that has a variable. We need to get rid of this 21 by adding 21 over here. Sorry, it should be lined up. The 21 should definitely be lined up because we can add those together. So that's 3k is less than or equal to 69. Divide by 3 on both sides. We are dividing by a positive 3. 69 divided by 3, k is not equal to, it's less than or equal to 23. Fill in your blank. If you need to pause the video, you can always pause it. Do all that. This one right here, it says, what is the solution to this one? Basically, a solution means we need to solve for x. This is the 6th thing you should write down on your notes. The first step to solving this problem is blank. What do you think it is? Getting rid of the parentheses. Or you could write the first step to solving this problem is distributive property. We need to distribute first. So please write that down. So notice all of your answer choices are whole numbers. So this could be a calculator problem. In your y1, put this side of the equation, 0.3, parentheses, 8 plus x. Then in the y2, you put this side, 2, parentheses, 5.2, minus 0.35 x. Put your parentheses. Press second graph. We're looking to see, is our answer A? Which means at the negative 8, do we see the same thing here for the y1 and the y2? No, so it can't be A. For B, is the answer 2? Do we see the same number here? Nope, it can't be 2. C says the answer is 8. C answer said the solution is 8. Is that true? Yes. The answer is C. So if you want to take some notes, please write this down for your notes and then put 8, 4.8, 4.8. That's how we know that that's our answer, because it has the same thing in the y1 and the y2. And that would be the 7th thing to write down for your notes. It's just a reminder to help you know what the solution is. That's the solution. Okay. Now for number 4, it says find the slope and the y-intercept for the following equation. What do you remember? Which form is this? This is standard form. And standard form does not show any of these. Standard form does not show anything. What we need to do is we need to take it and put it in slope-intercept form. This is something we've been practicing a lot. We need to find the equation that's equivalent to this one by going ahead and rearranging it. Remember, that is a negative 4y. We keep the 24. We bring down the minus 3x. Now we're dividing everything by negative 4, negative 4, negative 4. And we're going to simplify. So that's y equals, because those make an invisible 1. 24 divided by negative 4 is negative 6. And this is a negative 3 divided by negative 4. That becomes a positive 3 over 4x. It is not going to reduce. Please do not use 0.75 for a slope. We should be using the fraction. This can also be written as y equals 3 over 4x, because the slope is positive, and minus 6. It could be written either way. They could rearrange it if they want to. So your slope, you should know what the slope is. The slope is just the number, 3 over 4. The y-intercept, make sure you write it like this, 0, comma, what's the y-intercept? Not just a 6, but a negative 6. And slope-intercept form is right here. So please fill that in, and we'll move on. Which is the equation of a line that passes through the point 4,8 and has a slope of 0? We talked about these. Remember, the first thing you need to figure out is what is true about this. Oh, x equals 4 and y equals 8. So if you see anything weird, does x really equal 8? No, can't be that. Does x equal 4? Yes, so it could be that one. Does y equal 8? Yes, it could be that one. But does the y equal 4? No, so it definitely can't be these two. But which one of these has a slope of 0? You have to remember, what did we write back on number 1? Horizontal lines have 0 slope. And the horizontal ones are the y equals. So your answer for this one should be, what does the y equal? Oh, the y equals 8. This is the one with 0 slope. This is the one that has the undefined slope. Okay? Moving on to this one, it says find the solution for the inequality and graph it on the number line. We're going to have to do some work so we can first find the solution, which means to solve it, and second, graph it on the number line. So first step is distribute. This is like don't call me after midnight. We have 7x, it's all alone, so don't touch it. But multiply, multiply. Negative 2 times x, negative 2x. Negative 2 times negative 4 is a positive 8. If you need to pause it, then pause it so you can write it, but I'm going to talk a little fast. So 7x is all by itself. Don't touch it. These two can be added together because they both are constants. They do not have a variable. So negative 2, that becomes 18. Now that you see two things with x's, that can't happen. This x piece needs to get opposite to the other side. So we're going to add 2. Add 2x, that becomes 9x. Keeping our less than sign, bring down the 18 because that's zeroed out. Last step is to divide by 9. We divided by a positive, so there's no need to change the sign. 18 divided by 9 is 2. So our answer should be x is less than 2. So on the number line, there's 0. There's 2. It's an open circle, and we're pointing to things less than 2. For your notes, make sure you write something like this. This will be the 8th thing you're going to write for your notes. If you see something like this or this, you need to use a closed circle. If you see something like this or this, you use open circle. Okay, so this is something else you should have in your notes so you can get the extra credit. All right, remember these literal equations. These are the ones that are tricky because there's no numbers. There's only variables. It wants us to get the x by itself. So we want to get this by itself. What's the opposite of minus w? Add w to the other side. So this becomes a plus w equals px. Now, how do I get this p away from this x? Think about it like if it said a plus w equals 4x. How would I get the 4 away from the x? By dividing. So yes, divide by p, divide by p, divide by p. Because the p's will cancel out. So what you're left with is you're left with a over p plus w over p equals x. But this could be written another way. They could just write a plus w all over p equals x. Remember, these are the very, very weird ones. This is one that's very good. Solve for m. It says solve for m. They must mean solve for x. Don't let it trick you. Sorry. So we notice that there's variables that are on the same. They're both on the right side. So let's go ahead and combine it together. This is 4x's and 2x's. That would be 6x's. Bring down the minus 5 equals 10. There's a couple different ways you can do this one. I know we're used to moving the variables to the left. But you don't really have to just because that's the only thing that has an x, so don't touch it. Let's go ahead and move this 5 over here. That would be 15 equals 6x. Divide by 6. So x equals, it's kind of backwards. We're going to put 15 in, divided by 6, and we get 2.5. X equals 2.5. Moving on to number 7. There is a problem just like this on the test. Notice it gives you 2 points. And it says, what is the equation in standard form of the line that passes through the points? When you have 2 points, I really want you to use the stat edit. Press stat, edit in your calculator. Put in your -1 and your 33. Then put in your 4 and your -17 in the calculator. And then press stat again, go over to calc, number 4, enter, 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 and then you should see this is your equation, y equals mx plus b. So the step 1 is going to be using stat edit to find this equation. Step 2 is actually going to be putting it in standard form. Notice this equation that the calculator gives me does not match any of these. So in order to get it in standard form, you just need to get the x and the y on the same side. So let me write it right here. I need to simply take my x piece and do the opposite to move it over here. So that's going to be 10x plus y equals 23. And that should help you match your answer. which equation is equivalent to this equation right here. Equivalent equation means it doesn't look like we're solving for y equals mx plus b. No, we need to go ahead and start solving this to find out which one of these is equivalent. Notice, once again, just like the problem up here, we have variables that are both on the right. This one we have variables that are both on the left. So combine them. That's 3x's here plus 3x's here. That's 6x's. Bring down the minus 10 equals 4. See if anything matches after you do that step. Did you have to finish the problem? You should be writing yes or no right here. But if you're just taking your own notes, then don't worry about that. Just kind of look at it and see what happens here. All right, that's the first part of the review. I'm going to stop it here and do the second one.